What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the Thai Life channel. My name is Min, and today we're going to be talking about the art of acrylic application, and I'm going to be showing you how to do acrylic application at the same time. As you all know, when you're starting out as a nail technician, the acrylic application is probably one of your most difficult tasks that you need to learn how to adapt. But eventually you will get there. It's not hard, it's not easy. You just have to understand the chemical of the monomers and the powder and how much you're picking up your brush, all of that together. So of course, here's the monomers, and the powder that I'm going to be using is called Rosebud by Young Nails. And what I usually like to do is just going to mix up my powder, get that nice consistency when it comes to doing application. I don't want my powder to have any type of debris. I don't want my powder to have any kind of gunk in it. I want it to be 100% nice and powdery. So what I'm gonna do now is, because it is the winter time, things gonna dry a little bit slower. So what I usually do is I'm gonna go ahead and just stir up my monomer, making sure it's the right temperature, and I'm gonna go in with my first bead. So the thing about applying acrylic onto the nails, the first bead when you're doing the pinky is always like a determination if you like the way the powder is forming. Is there any other things that you need to do to readjust the way you apply the acrylic or you pick up the bead? Those are things that you're going to be asking yourself when you guys are doing acrylic application. You're only going to do all of that in the beginning when you're starting out as acrylic application. But once you get the hang of acrylic application, your mind, your muscle memory, it's just gonna kind of takes over. Trust me, you gotta trust the process, and you really gotta trust your skills working every single day. So just imagine you're doing nails every day. You're only going to get better at what you do. You're not going to get worse. Okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to continue perfecting. At this moment right here, what I really focus on when it comes to doing application is really keeping the surface nice and smooth. And the reason why I'm showing you this in real time is that I want you to see how long it actually takes me to fill up the whole fingernail when it comes to application. At the beginning, like I say, it's going to be a little bit hard to determine if you like the way the powder is forming. So I usually do very well just playing around with the pinky. So here comes the second finger, which is the ring finger. I'm going to pick up the bead. I usually like to look at the bead, and if it's not good, I'm just going to toss it. And what makes a bead good or bad is really how fast it forms the acrylic. Like if it's forming very fast, I like it. I'd rather have it wet than dry. So once I place it onto the nail, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and push the acrylic closer to the cuticle area. The goal is to push the acrylic very close to the cuticles, but not to go over the cuticle. The last thing you want to do is not have the acrylic dripping on the skin of the client's fingernails. That is irritating. It doesn't look good. It's going to make your job harder when it comes to doing the hand filing, and I don't want none of that to happen to you. So what I really focus on is just feather touching, light hand touching, pushing the cuticle close to pushing the acrylic close to the cuticles. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to dip my brush in the monomers, and I'm just going to pat it down. As you drip your brush into the monomer and you hit the wet acrylic, high chance you're going to melt the acrylic on the fingernail. So when you melt the acrylic on the fingernails, it's gonna slowly push the acrylic closer to the cuticle. And that's how us nail tech in the profession that we do able to fill up the gap so easily around the cuticle. And throughout the whole time, as I'm patting it down, I'm concentrating just cleaning around the cuticle, the side, the left, the right. So that's all I focus on, is smoothness of the surface, the cuticles, and repeat the steps. If I want to add more acrylic to create a nice apex, I can. I can actually add a little bit more. But the nice part is that my surface is nice and smooth at this moment. Let's do the same thing with the middle finger. I pick up the bead. I always look at the bead. If the bead looks good, I'm going to lay it. And as you can see how I'm laying the acrylic sideways. So it's just easy because the brush is already flat. So if I place it sideways, the acrylic almost just fill up the whole fingernails. And after that, of course, I'm going to push the acrylic closer to the cuticle. I'm going to clean my brush, and I'm going to go ahead and pat it down and clean my brush at the same time. The reason why I am constantly cleaning my brush is because as you are brushing down the acrylic that's on the client's fingernails, high chance you guys gonna have acrylic stains on your brush. And those acrylic stains, once it get dries up very fast, your brush will be damaged. You have to soak that in acetone or in monomer to really melt down the acrylic. So to prevent all of that from happening, consistently clean your brush. Every time you know you're going to dip your brush into the monomer, clean your brush on the paper. And that is the reason why we have the paper in front of us to utilize that. Okay, so as you are brushing down the acrylic, always make sure that your brush is not dry. Always got to make sure it's wet, because what's the point of brushing it dry? The only time when I brush the acrylic down without dipping in my monomers too much is like when I'm trying to push something really flat down. Like let's say something's really sticking up, I'm trying to push it down hard, I can do that. But again, adding the monomer is going to help because monomers melts down the acrylic. As you can see, as I'm pushing and feathering the brush all the way down to the acrylic, of course, high chance the acrylic is going to concentrate towards the end of the tips. So what you want to do is get your brush and kind of clean it on the bottom. The last thing you want to do is have acrylic. As you can see also is that it's so important that you guys pick the right monomers when you guys are doing these kind of application. There's are different types of monomers out there that can be very bad for you as a beginner. Let me tell you why. I guarantee you when you guys are going to school or when you guys starting out at most of the nail salon, they use cheap monomers. And what happened with the cheap monomers is that the cheap monomers is going to dry your acrylic very fast. Okay, that is going to work against you. Why? Let's say you're new to application. You're having a hard time moving the acrylic around the nail just to cover up the nail. On top of that, you have to be fast because the product is going to dry very fast. That works against you. The product that I am using as a monomer for my 20 years of experience, I have come down to two brands that I really enjoy working with when it comes to acrylic application, and I'm going to tell you why. First is CND Retention. That is one of the brand monomers that I use. And second and not least is Young Nails monomer. So these are the two monomers. I actually have it in the link in my description. If you're interested in getting it, you can locate it in the description. Other than that, the reason why I pick these two monomers is because it takes time for you to dry. It takes time. It gives you time for you to move the acrylic without sweating. It gives you enough time to do design, ombre, encapsulation. So there's so much things that you can do when the acrylic that's just stay in a ball and waiting for you to move around. That is going to make your job a lot easier. And it took me a long time to realize what monomers that I was using wrong. Because growing up, it was hard. Everything that the salon used, you have to use it. It wasn't something that when you go out, you buy yourself and you use it for your client because you're thinking that's going to be a lot of money expense that's coming out that you shouldn't even be spending if you're working for somebody, correct? But the truth is that sometimes as nail tech, whatever that's not working for you, you have to go out and find what's working for you. Because there's a lot of things that people are selling nowadays to make your job easier. So try to make it easy because this step right here is your bread and butter step to doing acrylic application. Like you cannot do artificial nails if you can't apply acrylic. Okay? You cannot do designs, encapsulation, or you can't even do anything has to do with it you don't do the acrylic. So that's why I'm trying to show you the art of the acrylic. And it is so important that as nail tech, you find the right monomers. The acrylic, it doesn't really matter. I get a lot of people asking me questions, what about the acrylic? Does it matter what acrylic you use? Yes and no. Majority of the time, if you have a good monomer, any type of acrylic is going to work for you. However, from one of my experience when I was using Mia Secret, I had Mia Secret clear powder. It was great. Very nice and clear. But the problem with that powder is that it leaves residue on my brushes. It leaves a lot of gunk sticking into my brush and ruins my brush. It doesn't happen with my when I'm using Young Nail Clear Speed. So I see the difference, okay? But other than that, can you, as a nail technician who are doing acrylic, you have to know how to protect your brush. It doesn't matter what acrylic you use, but it does matter what monomers you use. Use the right monomers. And the best part about the Young Nail monomers and the CND retention is that it lasts long on the clients, meaning it doesn't live. Okay, it does not live, and it doesn't have MMA, and that's what you want. MMA is a chemical that is prohibited by the state board when it comes to doing nails because that MMA chemical liquid is used for dentistry, to make dentures, to really enhance the strength of the fake dentures, right? So now you cannot put that on the client's nails because it has very fine molecules. It has very fine chemicals that can actually get into your body and your skins by absorbing through your nails. And that is why we do not use MMA. So CND retention and Young Nail has EMA, which is fine. And the difference is because let's say if you as a client and you have MMA on your nail, which is a bad chemical, right? So what you want to do is if she breaks her nails, instead of just breaking off the tips, she's going to break off her whole fingernail because it's on that hard. And y'all probably saying, well, that's a good thing. It means it won't come off. Yes and no. Because due to the fact that it has such fine chemicals that can actually leak into your body system, imagine if it doesn't come off. It stays on there for months after months. And you know there's clients who wear nails for years and they don't get a full set. They're just constantly getting fills. So they're constantly being covered with these MMA chemicals that can ruin their health and ruin their body organs. You see what I'm saying? So that is why most of my clients who get their nails done, they get a full set every 3 months or every 4 months. Between that, they just get fills. But you are using EMA, which is a healthier chemicals for their nails. And that is something that we as nail tech has to really take into consideration because we want our clients to consistently come back year in and year out. You know what I mean? When people wear nails, they wear it for 10 plus 20 years. And you don't want to lose that clients, over damaging their health. You want to keep them healthy. You want their nails to be healthy so that they can keep on going. So after we do the application, here I am. This client, she wants some hearts. We're going to do some encapsulation. So the best part about this tutorial is that you get to see the first base of acrylic application. And now you get to see the second base of acrylic application with encapsulation. The fun part about encapsulation when it comes to acrylic application is that everything that you put inside the nail, it stays on there and you just cover it with acrylic. It looks really nice, looks very 3D. Really simple, easy to make money. I'll be honest with you. The problem is that when I was starting out doing encapsulation, this was something new. All I did was I used super glue, nail glue. I put the confetti down and I glued down the confettis. Did you know how much time that took me? That took me so much time. Because each time I put the confettis down, before I even put the glues down, the client's hands start moving, the client's hands start shaking, and then the whole confetti just fall off the nails. And then I have to repeat and redo consistently, and I hate that. Throughout time, I'm like, I'm using this rhinestone glue, and I'm like, this rhinestone glue is very sticky, and it dries the moment you put it under the lamp. Why can't I use this gel glue to use for my encapsulation? The light just kind of came on, y'all. So what happened is that, so now every time I do encapsulation, I just use the rhinestone glue. I put it where I want the confettis to be, and I place it. The moment I put the confettis on the nail, it stays in one spot because this glue stuff is kind of sticky and it doesn't dry until you put it under the light. The problem with super glue is that it dries the moment it hits the oxygen. So that was a big gainer. Through experience, making a mistake, you learn something eventually. So that's what I use. Rhinestone glue. I'm going to come back. I'm going to readjust. It doesn't move, but I can readjust because it's still kind of wet. Once I readjust wherever the position of the nail is, I'm satisfied, the client is satisfied, I'm going to put it under the lamp for a good 60 seconds. Okay? Here's the cool part. So once I put this hand under the lamp, okay, I'm going to work on the other hand. And you're going to have the other hand adding confetti while the other hand is drying. So once it's dry, these confettis, they're done. They don't even move. I'm not even kidding with you. Saved me a lot of time. So easy, efficient, and that's what I look for as a nail tech. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover it with a clear powder. Again, I told you earlier in this video that the clear powder I use is called Speed Clear by Young Nail. This one's good. It doesn't leave me any type of residue on my brushes. I've been using this for a while. It's pretty clear. So because I put the first base of the acrylic on a little bit thinner because I know I was going to encapsulate something on this client's nails, just want to keep you a heads up that if you're doing any type of encapsulation, if you having a first layer of acrylic as a base, make sure that acrylic is nice and flat and thin, because you know you're going to cover it with a clear powder, and God knows how big some of these confettis can be. If you ever do dry flowers, it's very hard to do dry flowers confettis encapsulation due to the fact that the flower gets really big. That's all I gotta say, and you gotta make them thick. So here I am, gonna go ahead and cover the hearts. This is the fun part, the easy part. You just have to pick up a nice bead, lay it down, and you can. This is the fun part. At this part right here, your goal is to cover enough clear powder over these confettis. Why? Is because you don't want to file them off when you guys are hand filing and using electric file to start filing, smoothing out the surface. But during this part right here, again, always focus on smooth surface. I know the cuticle area is going to get a little bit thick when you guys are doing encapsulation because of how much powder you're adding onto the nails. But just trust the process. When you guys are using the E-file, it's going to help you smooth out the surface. But be very gentle when filing on top of an encapsulation. The reason is sometimes your hand can get a little bit hard and you might end up filing the shape of the confettis. If you have a star, that star won't be a star anymore. If you have a heart, that heart will be kind of lopsided because you might end up shaving one corner of the hearts. That could happen, okay? Be gentle. When you guys are doing this part, just really focus on what you're doing. It's an art. It's not that hard. This is really awesome. This set right here can easily go for at least $90 to $100 due to the fact that this client has encapsulation on all of her fingernails. And it was easy because all you had to do was just drop 2 hearts on each fingers or 3 hearts on each fingers, and you kind of encapsulate it, right? It's really awesome. We wanted to add some stones in this set, but you know, the thing about clients is that in the beginning of the set, they get excited. They're like, ooh, I want to put stones, I want to add this. But then throughout the process, towards the end, they like the way they're looking, and they're like, you know what, I kind of like the way it's looking now. So they eliminate all the other stuff. It happens all the time. And that's why I always tell my clients, like, all right, whatever you have in mind, just go ahead and hold your horse. Just calm down. Let's start from step 1, step 2, and once we meet the end, you get to decide you want to add that design on or not. But at the end, yo, this is how easy it is to do acrylic application. It's easy to me now, but I'll be honest with you, when I started out doing acrylic application, it is the hardest thing. It was nerve-wracking. It was intimidating because every single nail tech around me had this big ass brush where every single one had a size 20 or 22. It's almost like a paintbrush. They pick up one big ass bead and they cover the whole nail. It was like boom, boom, boom. Every single finger was like perfect, right? That's intimidating. And when you're starting out, you want to copycat exactly what to do. One big ass bead and lay it on the fingernail and hopefully it works. But what I've learned is that there's no such thing as 1 bead, 2 bead, 3 bead. What I've learned is that you do whatever it takes to make the nail looks good. If it takes you longer than others, then let it be. At least you're working towards being faster, you know? Those are the things that we all go through. These are all the things that I've learned from my experience, with acrylic application. Once you get the hang of the acrylic application, I can guarantee you that the hardest thing about doing nails is the shape of the nails. You gotta realize that. But if you haven't realized that yet, then that means you're still working on your acrylic application. But once you get the hang of every single step, the shaping is very critical, because every single nails that you're dealing with is going to be different, and that is why I can't wait to show you guys more to shape, to build a beautiful set of acrylic. But at the same time, I hope you guys enjoy this videos so far. I hope you learned something. Give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. If you're new to the channel, welcome. All I do is just really talk about nails, and of course share with you my lifestyle with my family, with 3 kids and a wife. But other than that, I really enjoy what I do. I hope all you guys are successful. I'm still learning. I'm still growing every single day. But that's what we want to do, is we want to grow as an individual, but at the same time, this nail community needs a lot of love, because this nail community is saturated, and we need to support one another to make this community bigger. We want to be known out in the job industry. We don't want to be known as a side hustle. We want people to know that this is a career, and if we work together, we can build anything as a career. And that's why I love helping every single one of you by sharing my knowledge and really sharing with you the right way to do things, to make things easier. But as you all know, we are heading towards the end of this videos, and I cannot wait to show you. And if you learned something in this videos about acrylic application, and how far you are with your skill set in acrylic application, and if you really enjoy doing acrylic application, leave it in the comment. Let me know how you feel. Share with me your experience, because I would love to hear it. Okay, don't be shy. No such thing as a dumb question. If anything, I'm very happy just to hear you type something down. Thank you so much. Throughout this year, it's literally been a whole year since I started my YouTube channel, and I can't even tell you how much I enjoy this, how much I spend like putting time aside to go on, create these 20 to 30-minute videos, edit them. I'm like my own show, and I really appreciate you guys so much for really just being around, listening, and I hope I don't bore you guys out. But other than that, guys, thank you so much. This is acrylic application for you. I hope you learn how to do it. Go out there, do this to your client, make them look beautiful, and go get that money. See you on my next video.